All right. So, welcome to this special conversation series where we spotlight members of our Calligraphy Growth Circles. And I truly believe that every one of our CGC member is a unique person with a unique story to tell. And today, I'm so honored to have Joanne here. So, hello, Joanne.
Hi, Suri.
She's here from Malaysia, and I would love for her to introduce herself to you. Tell us a little bit more about your family, your professional life, and your work as a life coach.
Okay, so um, first thing first, I'm a mother of two girls, are 11 and 12 years old. I am in the corporate, sort of, kind of, because I was on a 23 years corporate journey with working with big brands like L'Oreal, Shiseido, and all. And then last year, I had a career transition. So I've moved to a startup company and working as the general manager. That's my role. But also at the same time, like I am the resident coach here at Coco Dry. That's the company that I work with. So besides that, on a side hustle, I am a certified life coach, like what Serene say. So
Yes.
I do have coaching clients online, but also at the same time, I run journaling workshops with Moseri and other brands, and I also do art therapy workshops as well. So I think yeah, that's about me.
My gosh, that is so much fun. I met Joanne last year for our CGC in-person calligraphy workshop, and before that, we actually had a lunch and we chat together. And I love all that she has been doing and is doing. And just before this session, we had a chat, and she was telling us and telling me about how she transited from being a corporate professional to now being a general manager of the very client that she was helping as a life
Yeah.
coach as well as a company. Tell us more about that transition, dear friend.
So basically, I think after 4 years in the previous role, and I think it was just time for me to move. And I was actually about to sign an offer, but my current boss, which is the founder of Coco Dry, I spoke to her and I said, and I, out of courtesy and respect, say that, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm actually departing from this role. I'm moving on into another role. And she was like, you're leaving. And I was like, yes, I'm leaving. And she's like, wait a minute, do not sign the offer. Let's have a conversation. And that conversation lead me to a year now here in Coco Dry. And I think it was just a very beautiful relationship, I would say, that I had with her, that we started as business associates. I was working for a product brand that I supplied to her salon, and from there we became friends, and she knew that I was going on my life coaching journey. And because of that, she also engaged me to do coaching, coaching into her business. And in fact, she was like my first paid coaching client. And I think it was just very hard when I first started as a coach. I'm like, I don't even know how to charge. And she's like,
Yes.
no, send me the invoice. And I
Yes.
mean it, and you send me your invoice, right?
I love that.
And I think I'm just really grateful for that journey.
Yeah.
And knowing me as a person already inside out. And when she shared with me this opportunity of being her first GM ever, and knowing what I did. And I also, like, it was a very transparent relationship. And I told her and said, like, hey, my passion is really into coaching, into running my own workshops and all the trainings that I'm doing on the side. Are you okay with me doing this publicly? Because I don't want to like go behind and then, end up doing all this other stuff. And I just want to be out and open about it. And when I shared it with her, like, she was very supportive. And I think like she's been helping me to advocate my coaching journey as well. So I was just grateful for that. So yeah.
I love that, for all of our community people who are hearing this, I know a lot of us are in our crossroads in life's transitions, and we are always so fearful in stepping out into an unknown, whether we are quitting without an offer already, or we are stepping into retirement, or we are transiting from a full-time working mom to wanting to be a stay-home, or from a stay-home mom to wanting to go out in corporates. And there's always so much doubt, but what Joanne said is so beautiful, that in spite of her doubts and in spite of what she was fearful of, she took that first step and she let people know. And when she let people know, the Lord really just opened doors in such a beautiful way that she never quite imagined. You know, she never quite imagined being able to be working with a client and her being just so supportive of all that she's doing and giving her the flexibility to do all that she's passionate in and called to do, and still giving her this role in where she can so beautifully be plugged in. And I'm just so excited that you are in this now and that you are just flourishing so beautiful in this work that you are in. And I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy for you, my dear friend.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it's also, there's a lot of fear in us, especially I think, as women, that we always comes from a space of scarcity, like the what if, right? What if this doesn't happen? What if this is not the right path? But then the question of the what if this works out, right?
Yes.
And or even like if you were to kind of look at it, what if this fails? What's the worst that would happen to it?
Yes.
Right?
Even if this fails.
Even if this fails, right? But the least is you try it, and you never know because one door closes, another door opens.
Amen.
And I think it's just never too late. I think I've had a lot of people that actually question like these decisions of mine. Even like my husband, he's like, "Are you sure? Like what about your ecosystem? And I had 23 years of corporate experience, right? So yeah, I think being 23 years in the corporate and leaving corporate because I think I could have chosen my path to work in big companies, great benefits, but I think it was just not in my life calling in terms of the purpose that I want to have. And I think there was so many people that kind of like questioned my decision. And I think like even like my husband, like I think he meant well in a good space, right? But he was just like, but your years was in the corporate, like the things that you could be doing, and do you want to go into such a smaller establishment and do this? And I was like, yeah, like I mean, I get to do coaching, I get to do what fills my cup, right?
Yes.
And I think it's just at the end of the day, it's just to put out there that it's never too late. I think a lot of people will be very shocked with my transition because I'm actually 43, and being at 43, you should be like having a stable career, don't do anything out of the norm, be this, be that. And I think that's just not living into your fullest potential. And we talk about women, and I think we all can rise. And I think very, very importantly, and I think I'm a very big believer in find your support system.
Yes, absolutely.
Find your community, right?
Yes.
And I always talk about like, this term that I learned is called finding your sunshine people. The sunshine people is people that celebrates you, that will root for you, that will cheer for you, but they are also people that is like super honest with you when you're not in the right frame of mind, and they will just be very honest to tell you the truth. And I think it's just so important for us to have the sunshine people in our life, right? Because it just put us in check, because if not, then we're just like always worried, and women coming together to celebrate one another. I just love that. I just love that.
Oh, I love that too, friend. You are a sunshine person, friend. You don't just find people, you yourself are such a sunshine, I always see that in you, in the way you speak, in the way you show up for people, in the way that you are in community with people, even during our CGC in-person play, that you are such a sunshine. Your smile already brings it all. So yes, friend, I also wanted to ask, you already learned calligraphy before joining Calligraphy Growth Circles. So what made you decide to join CGC, and what has that helped you?
That's a good question. I think I started my calligraphy journey like 10 years ago, like 11 now, right? It was 10 last year, it's 11 now. And I think when I first started...
About the same time as me,
Well, I didn't do much, but I think when I first started, and I remember like my first workshop that I signed up was Copperplate calligraphy. And that was just putting so much fear in me, because I think I write very hard. So it was just very difficult. Like, I'll scratch, it would bleed, it's just difficult. But I think what was good was that I didn't stop and I never gave up. And I had the transition and I moved to brush calligraphy. So I felt brush calligraphy was a lot more forgiving. And I would be like in Malaysia, like signing up workshops after workshops, trying to find the right instructor, but it just never felt right. And I think last year, and I stumbled across Serene with Sunday's Dawn on Instagram. And I was like, oh, sounds really interesting. And I think like it was one thing that really strikes me was like, oh, Serene used to be a teacher, right? I'm like, if
Yeah.
she's a teacher, she can teach well. So, but I was not ready to commit the annual membership immediately. So I signed up with one of your online workshops. And I think
Yes.
because of that online workshop that I really love the way how you share, the way you teach, it felt like I finally got it right this time. And I think that's just how like I signed up CGC last year.
Mm.
And this is like my second year in it. And I really see a transition in my journey
Mm.
in the last 1 year and a half. I
Oh,
showed up more consistently.
yes.
Um, I incorporate like the whole calligraphy learning into my day to day.
Yes.
From
Tell us
like
more about that. Yes.
yeah. So I kind of transitioned it from like last year, and I was like very inspired to do a quote a day, because I was like,
Mm.
how do I stay consistent? What do I write, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, and I bought this like very expensive notebook called Hobonichi, right?
Oh,
And I
yes.
never use it. It was my 2023 Hobonichi, but I was like, I think I should do something about it, right? So in
Mm.
2024, I started writing on my Hobonichi, but it was like dated at 2023, but it was still like first, second, third, like still has a number to it. So and I continued to it, and maybe I could show it now, like so that
Yes,
since you're
please
talking about
do.
it, and I kind of like started with this, like yeah, and you could see that this was last year, right?
Yes.
Um, my words were really bigger. I think it
Yes.
was like very thick, and then towards like later part, like it would transition. So by doing this, it allows me to kind of also see like my transition and my journey,
Yeah.
right? And like I finished the whole year, so I had like this 366 quotes in this book,
My
and that was
gosh.
really, really beautiful. I think
Yes.
I wouldn't have done it if it's not like for CGC, and staying like really, really consistent. I would say like consistent is the key, like
Yes.
especially for like new CGC members. Do not be intimidated, right? And you of course
Yes.
will see that some of us do better and some of us are not that, but also remembering the journey that we started, right? Like you're
Exactly.
talking about like a 1 year old kid and then compared to like a 5 years old or 6 years old, it's different
Exactly.
milestones. So, and I think because of that transition, and then I kind of like got very ambitious this year,
Mhm.
um, which I'm gonna share. Like I actually got like this book, and it looks like a Bible,
Yes, I love this. I
right?
love this. Yes.
And what I did was that it was a Bible verse every
Yes.
single day.
Yes.
And from what you see just now, like it used to be like very thick, very
Yes.
straight, like doesn't have character to what
Can you
it
put
is
both
now.
side by side? Put
Yes,
both
I
side by
can.
side. Oh my
Yes, I
word.
can. Yeah, and then you could really see that transition and that big change, right? So you could see this is to this. Yeah, so you could see that there is more character, and you could see like
Yes.
it's a bit better done, and this is like just one time, no
Yes.
correction to it.
Yes.
But even like you will say that, oh no, Joanne, like it's so nice, and then how can I do it, and what if I write it wrong or something? For me it's just like I'm just going to try and see if I could show like I just cross it out and I just continue writing.
Yes.
So and it's
My
just allowing
gosh.
yourself to make that mistake as well, because it cannot always be perfect lah, but I think it's when you're consistent, right?
Yeah.
Then you could kind of see the differences as well. So yeah.
I love what you just shared. I love what you shared about consistency because not only you say that, you do it. And it has been over a year. And I remember that the last time, when you shared about this and I shared about it in the socials and I reshared that, so many people were telling me, oh my word, I remember the lady, they cannot remember your name, but they would tell me, I remember the lady who wrote one quote a day. Oh yeah, she's still writing one quote a day. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because you show up every single
Yes.
day. And I love what you shared, the second one as well, about imperfection, that it doesn't need to be
Mm.
perfect. And sometimes it is perfection that
Okay,
cripples us.
I think I got an example here. You could see I could just cross it out and I just continue on. But it didn't matter because it's still part of that journey. So yeah, I just wanted to like show that it's not always perfect too.
Absolutely. That in itself is a TED talk, that we can accept imperfection. We can allow ourselves to make mistakes, and that showing up imperfectly but consistently is what will compound. And I love that. I love what you just shared,
Yeah,
and
and
I love what you emphasized on.
yeah, and I think it's just to celebrate yourself, that growth, and I think what I see and why I continue to stay in CGC, even though I'm not always on every live session that Serene do, but I think by plugging myself in this community is like, okay, like, yeah, I'm still doing this. Like, oh, whenever I need to, get a little bit more support and kind of um the additional strength to kind of continue on this calligraphy journey, that I know that I'm not alone. So
Yes, you
yeah.
are not alone, friend. And I also really wanted to ask, as a corporate professional and as a busy mom where time is so, so precious, how do you actually carve out time to practice calligraphy on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, that's really a good question,
Yeah.
because like I think a lot of
Yes.
time people are like, how do you even have time for all this? Like you're a mom and everything. And I think um the beauty is that I think a lot of time, like I include my children to be also
Mm.
part of it. I mean, besides the work timing, the daytime job that I have, like whenever, like for example, like when Serene does her live, like my kid will sit next to me. On
Yes.
the weekends, like I do journal jams as well, like with
Mm.
community, and I'll bring my kids along, so they will do it along as well. So those are some of the things, and I think also like sometimes like when I write notes and like when I'm
Mm.
at work, I will also use calligraphy as a part of it. Like, I actually had this too, like
I
a
remember this.
taking.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something that I read recently, and it's about, yeah. So, and then I will like write down the quotes and everything. Also, you could incorporate it into your day to day. It doesn't
Mm.
have to be like, I'm specifically doing calligraphy, but you can be journaling, and you could even just have a header calligraph.
Yes. Wow. That is such a practical tip, and it's such an easy takeaway. It is just being mindful of how you can include the people who are already in your life. Your children are already in your life into your everyday journaling, into your everyday calligraphy, and allowing them to also see how this is doing for you. They see your journey. They see your progress. They see you showing up in spite of you being so busy. So what is the daily rhythm of your one verse a day or one quote a day look like for you? Is it done in the evening? Is it done in the afternoon? When does that happen for you?
So usually it's done at night. So
Hmm.
usually if there is a timing to it, usually it will be the 9:30 to the 10:30 period. Because why 9:30 to 10:30? Those are usually the time when my kid is going to bed, and then it's my me time. So
Yes.
mommy needs me time too. So, and I
Yes.
think that is really allowing me to unwind. And then
Mm.
that's where I will do calligraphy, and also at the
Wow.
same time I will do my journals. So I do my journaling at night.
That is so powerful, in CGC, we previously also talked about draining distractions and productive rest. And
Mm.
so many of us, it's easy to fall into that draining distraction. It's easy to just on the Netflix where we are done with the day. It's easy to just doom scroll on our phones. But what you said is so powerful that instead of doing all of that, your go-to thing after your day ends is through journaling and through calligraphy as a productive rest. My gosh, friend, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I think the advice here is that it doesn't have to exist just on its own, calligraphy, it can exist with the journaling, it can exist when you're writing something, or even like, you write, a summary of the book that you read with a team, or do something, so it can just all adds together. Or even like I think a big part of calligraphy for me is also like when I travel, I do travel
Mm.
journaling. So it's like a lot of sticking of your mats and everything. And then you could have your header or like your
Mm.
notes like calligraph
Yes,
together with your writing
yes.
as well, right? You could be like, for example, we have a lot of mummies like in the
Yeah.
group, right? Like they could have recipe book, and you can also
Oh, I
incorporate
love that.
calligraphy part of it,
Yes,
like,
yes,
to do the recipe, and like even like your daily journaling, you
yes.
could kind of like also, you know, write about it, or I have something like that too. You see, I
love
just take pictures, right? So there's variety for you to do. I think it's just, it's pretty and all that, but I think it's more importantly is to be consistent lah, so,
Yeah.
and then you'll be like, oh, Joanne, what if I'm just like, I don't have colors, but it can also be like that. You
Yes.
see, it can just be written and then calligraph. So yeah, some little tips here and there, because I think sometimes it gets scary, it gets intimidating, but you're like, oh, but it's not pretty, but I can assure you, if you look into my Instagram, when I first started 10 years ago, it looks really ugly. Like, really ugly. I'm just like, oh my gosh, why did I even post it? But it's to remind me that I can do better.
Yes.
I think that's just so, so
100%.
important. Yeah.
100%. When we date our work, when anyone dates their work, the beautiful thing is you don't see the growth on a daily basis. You see the growth only after a whole period of time. That is in growing plants, that is in growing humans, that is also in growing your calligraphy journey. And for you, it's evident because you have been documenting all of this. And like you said, incorporating this into your daily life intentionally and mindfully. And I truly just admire that for you, And there's one question I'm always very, very curious, and
Yes,
I really love
please.
to ask you. So has calligraphy and the practice of slowing down, especially for you, you do journaling, the practice of slowing down to write, influence the way you approach your coaching, your work, and motherhood?
Definitely, for sure. I think calligraphy allows you to pause and to really intentionally be mindful, right? And I think it's given me a lot of calmness, when I practice calligraphy, because I think it's especially when I write a quote or I write an affirmation, it's very reassuring for me, because like the words appeals to me. And then of course, like, when you kind of write it in a calligraphy way, it looks pretty, so it's that little reminder that keeps you going in life. I even have like this like little frame whereby it's like I could put like a note every day that I could change the note, right? And it's like a desktop display from an ex staff of mine. She's like, you love to write, so I cannot think of anything else better to give to you. And she's like, okay, these are the blank sheets, okay, that you can change it and you can write it. And I think what happens for me was being able to write a quote that is resonating for me for that week, and being able to see that in front of me, it becomes a reminder. And I think that's the
Yes.
beauty of calligraphy, that you can do that. And I've always loved like writing notes. So I was like, okay, when I run out of things to write for myself, then I write cards and write notes for other people lah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, absolutely love that. In Sunday's Dawn, one of our main motivation is for us to be able to learn calligraphy in order to encourage self and others. And you do that beautifully. And
Yes.
exactly like what you said, visual reminders, whether it's beautiful quotes that resonates with us, or verses that just speaks to us in this season, is beautiful when put up. It's different when you read it on screen. It's different when is anywhere else. But when it's put up in your home space, when it's put up in your office space, when it's put up in a space that you work in and play with and eat at, it is speaks to the atmosphere of that space, and I truly love that we are able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I got inspired too, like, like when, Serene Yu writes the Bible quotes, I was like, oh, this is a really nice one, right? And I love as well, like when CGC get to share in our Facebook community that, like they are, oh, I write this and I give it as a housewarming gift, right?
Oh
Oh, I
yes.
write this, for Christmas, like the cards, the name cards, the place card, and I think that's just the beauty, and some days I'm just like, okay, what do I give to a friend? I was like,
Yeah.
okay lah, I write her a quote for her new home, or a newborn baby, because I think words are so beautiful, and when you could capture it in that way, in a calligraphy way, I think it's just money cannot buy a gift like that. And it saves
Speaking
us a lot of
words of
money too.
season.
All we
Yes.
need to do is just buy the photo frame, and you can just go
Absolutely.
Daiso and buy it, right? So yeah.
Yes, when we have learned the skill of calligraphy, there's never a need to have to buy cards. There's never a need to have to think of what personalized gifts to write. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely is such a beautiful output and such a beautiful skill to have. The one last thing, right?
Yes.
What encouragement would you give to someone who feels that their schedule is too full to start or sustain a creative practice?
Honestly, it doesn't take a lot of time, right? If you can spend an hour, 2 hours
Yeah.
Netflixing,
Yeah.
social media, Instagramming, you can definitely do it. And I think like even like for you to write a quote a day, it doesn't even take you a 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
and this is something that you're like so tangible, right? That you write it and then you can see it, right? But if I sometimes do that too. Like, sometimes we binge drama and we watch
Mm.
drama, and then we're like, okay, where did the time goes? Yeah. So
Exactly.
so I think it's just, and I always remember Serene's advice to us is like, as long as you're even practicing 5 minutes a day. And I remember that from my year one in CGC, it's like, as long as you practice 5 minutes, you can see the big improvement. And I'm
Yes.
like, so true to that. And I think that's also why I was like, okay, I write a quote a day because that will take me 5 minutes.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Thank you for taking that away and applying it. So last question that I always ask to every of the CGC members that I invite here on our YouTube channel, and that is, what is the word for you in this season of your life?
Hmm. The word for me in this season, it's called bloom fearlessly.
Wow, tell me more about that.
Oh, um, I think it's been a really tough year for me despite my transition. And I think it started with like in January, like my late father passed away, but we never had a connection. He's never taken care of me in my whole life. But as much as I didn't have a relationship with him, his passing on brought out a lot of emotions that I was suppressing a lot, the abandonment, the rage, the anger, and everything. And my body was shutting down, and I was like, not able to control my emotions. I was going through seeing therapists because I was just like, what's going on, right? Like, I don't need another coach. It's not the current state that I need to work on, but
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of the past that was suppressed, right? And I think because of his passing on, it has allowed now to say that it's safe for you to bring this all out, but they all came out like a tsunami. Um, it was just really tough. And I think like in the last season, I was in the cold, brutal winter,
Mm.
and I think it took me a while with the support system and everybody that was around me, my community, it kind of helped me to kind of slowly navigate back through. And I think Bloom came out very strongly for me. And I think Bloom fearlessly is just like the wildflowers, right? They've
Yes.
never kind of asked permission whether is it the right season to grow, like what do I need? They just trust. There was so much trust
Yes.
that okay, the sun will come out. They will just trust the rain will be there. And I think for me it
Yes.
was just I think living 40 years of my life, I think it's
Mm.
done like for me to live in other people's programming, other people's belief that now I'm just going to live my life fearlessly, that
Yes.
I'm just going to be me, like this is
Mm.
how I look like in my personal, this is how I will show up at work, like
Yeah.
I'm just going to be me because that's just where I find like that's most authentic for myself. So,
Mm.
so that's just a very big reminder for myself to just
Mm.
bloom in my season at like
Mm.
whatever it is, this is me like
Yes.
don't like
Mm.
that's just it for me and just not being afraid to be who I am.
Yeah.
There are people that will like me, there are people that will not like me, but I think
Mm.
it's just the people pleasing era has kind of enough.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow. Joanne, thank you so much for opening up so authentically, even in sharing just this word of for you this season. And you speak so beautifully of who you are and who you have been and who you are becoming. And I love that word for you. That is not just bloom, but it's bloom fearlessly. That when you are stepping out in that courage to just say, hey, this is Joanne. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. And my God is behind me. So who am I to be afraid? I love that, Joanne. Thank you so much. I think that that just encapsulates why you are who you are now. And that the past has gone and the new has come, and it's a season where you will just flourish.
Thank you. Yeah, and I
Thank
think
you.
that's also like I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think it's never too late. I think it's for the woman that's listening here. It's never too late to rewrite the chapters of your life.
Yes.
And I think there was so much growth that happens for me in the recent few years. My first 30 years of my life was just like, okay, this is it. It's like nothing quite exciting besides getting married, having kids, and that's about it, right? But I think it's after that that I realized like I need to do things for myself. And I think it's just an advice that you need to first fill your cup because if you're running on an empty cup, there's nothing for you to pour to other people, right? And
Absolutely.
then you will not be happy. So I think it's filling up your cup and being with the people that really loves you
Yes. Live full.
unconditionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Live full.
So
We are called to live life abundantly. So live
yes.
fully. So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart and for sharing your journey of courage, of calligraphy, and of growth. I will see you in the next one, okay?
Thank you. Bye, Siri.